Yeah, you just want to be professional. That's it. And there's a difference between being a friend and being a professional. Because your friend will say it's okay to be you, but a professional will say that's nice, but you can do better. And that's why
Mhm.
that's why our friends and our family are often not the best people for us to work with because they'll never tell us the truth. Friends are friends
Mhm.
because it's comfortable. And change is change because it's uncomfortable. So some friends will they're in the nice place. They're in a kind of nice zone, and they don't want anything to change, and that's okay. That's part of life. I have my friends that are like that as well. So that, I know they might be nice people to have a glass of wine or a beer with or something, but you can't expect any real life progress from
Yes.
this section.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
um, so for people who want to be better, for people who want to learn, for people who want to do more, for people who are motivated, for people who are interested, for people who see the future as being different from the present, um, usually what they need to do is find somebody who is more serious, more professional, and to connect and to use the professional relationship to help take steps forward. Does that make sense to you? We started right. So uh, so that's the feeling that I get from what you say. That we all need motivation. We all need a push. We all need we all need I think we all need something in front of us, like a target for us to reach, but we also need something behind us pushing us along as well. And
Mhm.
if we have those two things, then we have some motivation or some movement or some motion. Flow is important in terms of progress because if we stop, well, that's it. And this applies to work, it applies to ourselves, it applies to people around us as well. So most of the people that I work, I'm happy that you said that because most of the people that I work with understand that that the information is not quite as important as the motivation. Yeah, the information because if you don't have motivation, you won't get information. There's a process there because information is everywhere. Information is everywhere. It's not difficult to get information, but it is difficult to find the right kinds of motivation that help us move forward. I think that learning is holistic. I think that
Mhm.
anything you learn in one area changes everything that happens in all areas. And it's it's very difficult to separate things. It is possible, but it's very complicated to separate things because if for just as a crazy example, let's say you win, you say you buy a lottery ticket and you win some money, right? Well, that not just changes your personal life. It changes your social life. It changes your mindset. It changes your work. It sort of affects everything. So it's it's important to understand that learning is um, something that affects all parts of our lives, and I think it's something that's also a daily principle as well. Um, there's a saying that I like, which is, "If it's not in your day, it's not in your life." Life is a construction of the habits that you have on a daily basis. So, um, if we want to create good habits, then we need these habits to be in our lives as often as possible, as often as possible. So,
Mhm.
that's part of work, right? Yeah,
Right.
well,
Mhm.
yeah, well, the average person spends 8 hours a day at work. So that's 40 hours a week, which is a large minimum, okay, minimum in the modern world.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so yeah, it's a large part of a person's world. It's a large part of, and to want to be better at that and to want to improve at that, well, that's going to change your whole life because it's a large part of your life. And but we can use other people as sort of goals and targets as well. And the more we surround ourselves with people who are better than us, the theoretically the better we become. You never want to be the most intelligent person in the room because you're in the wrong room then, with one exception. If you're a teacher in the classroom with kids, okay? Even then, collectively, the kids have
Mhm.
more experience than the teacher collectively. So
Yeah.
that's interesting to remember. But but you, I think for anybody who wants progress, you want to be surrounded by people who are better than you at everything because you want you want to climb up and you want them to pull you up, and the only way is to have people around about you that are better. And um, again, that there's another saying that your life or the how far you go in your life is dictated by the five people closest to you. Yep, the five people you spend the most time with is the limitation on your progress. So, if you think about, if you imagine your week and you imagine the people you spend the most time with, and the crazy thing for a teacher of kids is that it might actually be the kids, right? That's exactly what
Mhm.
happens because, again, if you're an empathetic person, your 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 mind tunes into the same frequency or level as the mind of the children, and to communicate with them, you have to be basically on the same level, maybe a little bit higher, but basically on the same level to get the message across. Um, and and there's a positive and negative side to that. The positive side is you're able to communicate in a way that they understand. The negative side is you're not yourself.
Mhm.
Right? You're not yourself because that's not you. You're not down at that level. You're up at that level
Yes. Yes.
in
Mhm.
comparison with them. So if you spend most of your time in a different mental state, in a different mental place, that's where you are, right? That's where you are. That's why one of the contradictions of education is that it actually has a negative long-term effect for people to communicate for people to communicate with children in their language. Be,
Mhm.
because the children at the beginning you connect, that's good. But if you stay there, you don't go anywhere. So
Mhm.
it's kind of interesting. The children grow up the most quickly when they are surrounded by adults. Children grow up the most quickly when they're surrounded by adults who don't limit their communication because the child
Mhm.
is forced to raise their game, yep,
Mhm.
to the level of the adults around about them. The same way that the adult who wants to be better must surround themselves with other people who are better than themselves if they want to raise their game. It's exactly the same principle. Um, so a lot of teachers find that they have this slowing down after a period of time of development where they spend so much time communicating with their students in their language and so little time in their own mental state
Um,
that 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 they're like a kind of like a mouse on a wheel. Just they're running fast, but they're just going round and round and round and round and round, and not getting anywhere. Now, a lot of a lot of schools realized this, 20, 30 years ago, and that's why there's a lot of training and development days. And I think that one of the most important things for teachers is that what teachers do with information is they feed their students with information. And if teachers are not themselves doing a lot of things and making their own life interesting it's not interesting for
Mm-hmm.
the kids or the students or whatever, because it's it, you you have to be you when you're teaching, and that means sharing who you are with them. Like, I did this, or um, this is I was climbing at the weekend. Let me tell you what I learned from climbing. It's dangerous, right? You could kill yourself if you don't take care or
Yeah.
whatever. So and Montessori's are interesting schools, very holistic education, very um, orientated on not. It's obviously not just results. It's obviously a whole
Pro-
element of character development and skill development as well. Um, which is pressure on the teacher, because if the kids are going to grow, then the teacher has to grow as well. And
yeah.
um, you can't just like be the repetitive robot doing the same thing year after year, because it just becomes boring for this. If if the students are bored, it's because the teacher is bored, right? If the students are bored, it's because the teacher is bored, because the students will mirror the emotions that they're given the opportunity to experience. Um,
Mhm.
uh, if the students are interested, it's because the teacher is interesting, right? That's the way that it works.